Insiders, welcome back to the 12th episode of the longest running and best podcast on IOST. We've got big news for you today. We've got a name change, rebranding, we've got a new site with new features like a calendar, and we're going to talk about games coming out on IOST, hackathons, and more. Neo World, we've got screenshots, we're going to talk about Indian development community, getting a big boost from Blue Hill, and all sorts of things. News coming for you this week. Hope you enjoy it on Inside IOST.
Okay, Insiders, the time is upon us once again. This is Inside IOST, the first and the best podcast for all your news, info, happenings in the IOST ecosystem. I am Evan Schindler. I'm joined by my partners at the Inside IOST node, Leobi node. We're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into it. Josh, Brian, Peter K., how you guys doing today?
Great. Feeling good, man. Excited to be back. Missed last week. I was on strep throat.
Strep throat, yeah.
You know, you come out of that and you're like, yeah, life is good again. Oh, boy.
Well, and we just mentioned how you're not wearing your IOST shirt, you know. Callister's probably very disappointed in that.
Sorry, Callister.
Well, sorry, Callister, but we're glad to have Pete back in the building here, back on the western side of Pennsylvania. Western side is the best side. So let's get started here. Big announcements. It's we talked about it last week. You teased it last week, Josh, so we're going to put it all on you to make this announcement to the insiders.
It is a big announcement. When we started this company together, we came up with a great name, Leobi. We've talked about that on past shows. And but we have seen that as the ecosystem has grown, there's another node called Leobi. And we've had some real name confusion with that node. And a lot of the people in our community have said, oh, we accidentally voted for Leobi instead of Leobi. So we've been talking about it, and we've been building this great community inside IOST through the podcast here that we've been doing, also through the Telegram channels and Twitter and so on. So we have decided that as a company, we're going to be changing our node name from Leobi to Inside IOST. So moving forward, you will see that on the voting websites, you'll see Inside IOST. You'll see an upgraded logo from us. We'll be updating all of the logos on our channels, Telegram, Twitter, YouTube. You'll see the new Inside IOST logo. And today we are announcing the launch of the Inside IOST website at InsideIOST.com. So we're super excited about this. We've been talking for the last few weeks about some features that we're going to release for the IOST community, and we've included those
in
the
Josh?
new website.
What kind of features?
I'm glad you asked. The new features are, we put a calendar onto the page. Ooh. So you will see when you go to InsideIOST.com, IOST events. If you click on that, it'll take you down to the calendar, and these are events that the IOST Foundation has recommended. So there are a lot of conferences that are out there. They've recommended these conferences as a good place for IOST nodes to go to get involved. So these are recommended conferences from the IOST Foundation. You can click on any of them and see the location of them and a description of them. We've put a link in there so that you can go straight out to their website if you want to register and attend. The first one right there is Consensus in New York. So you'll see that here in the U.S., but it includes events from all over the world.
Yeah, and Josh, you did a great job putting the calendar together. We had to test you and put your programming skills to work there.
Hey, who knew, right?
Who knew? So we've got two basically full-stack engineers on the team here with Josh Bryant and Peter K. Basically. I mean, Josh is full stack. I don't know about you. But, yeah, so check out that calendar. And, you know, if you are out there, you're a node or, you know, a DApp development team, or you're inside IOST at all, you're an insider or not an insider, get in touch with us. We'd love to put your information up on the calendar. Our vision is to have this be kind of the go-to place for people who are getting into IOST. And did you mention the Getting Started page?
Yeah, that's
as
a
well?
great segue into the Getting Started page. So we have added a segment to our site. It's called Getting Started with IOST. You can click on Get Started up in the menu. And this page is for people who are new to IOST, possibly new to blockchain and cryptocurrency. I've been talking with my own friends and family about IOST and what we're doing with the Inside IOST node, and they're interested and they'd like to get involved. And some of them wanted to invest some money in IOST, and they said, "Well, how do I do that?" And there are a lot of steps that go into it, and not just how to do it, but sort of understanding the process too, and understanding cryptocurrency and how that works, and putting money into a wallet. So you'll see on this page, there's a description of how to get into IOST, and we compare it to a bank account, because a lot of people are familiar with opening up a bank account and then accessing that bank account through a web page or through a mobile app, and then putting money into their bank account, spending money from their bank account. So although the blockchain is not exactly similar to a bank account, there are enough similarities there that for new people who are getting into it, I think it's helpful for them to kind of draw some comparisons between opening up a bank account and creating an account on the IOST blockchain, and then accessing that account through wallet software, like they might access their bank account through a website or through a mobile app. So there's a walkthrough on this page of how they can create an IOST account. We've put screenshots up there from our node partner, IOSTABC.com, and we walk people through how to create a wallet, how to store their private key, the importance of storing their private key, and then putting the iWallet Chrome extension in place, and there are screenshots of that. Depositing IOST into that wallet by first going out and purchasing IOST on an exchange and then moving it into a wallet, and then being able to spend IOST from that wallet. And then lastly, showing them how to vote too, where they can go and vote for Inside IOST node, of course, and get some staking rewards from that. So all there in one page, a walkthrough for a new user. Go out and if you have friends that are interested in getting into this ecosystem but may not know a whole lot about it, it's a great starting point for them to go and do that.
So we've played this game of chicken with Leobi and kind of lost, right?
Yeah.
We had to back off. But you know what I feel safer about Inside IOST? What are they going to come out with? Downside IOST? Outside IOST? Upside, I guess?
IOST inside, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
Inside something else.
We were honestly, we were like shocked when we saw Leobi and Leobi, and I was just like, what are the chances that there's two nodes with almost the exact same name? And then we tried to meme ourselves into being Leobi.
Yeah, right. Vote Leobi-Wan Kenobi.
Leobi-Wan Kenobi.
Leobi.
And we didn't know where Leobi would be in the rankings, too, when we first started. Like, if they were out in the hundreds or something where nobody saw them, it wouldn't be a big deal. But they're like a top 10 producer.
Yeah,
they're
doing
all
chose
that
to
kind of
make
stuff.
And they chose to make a voting portal app.
Yeah,
so people are using them. Oh, this must be those guys. I mean, I'm sure Leobi has lots of voters who have no idea who we are. But
Right. Hey, but I commend them. They did good work. So we'll have to, what is the word I'm looking for? Concede our name?
Concede. Well, Inside IOST makes a little bit more sense with the direction we're going. We have a calculator, we have a calendar, we have a podcast, we have this page on how to get into the IOST community. All of those things are like, here's how you get inside IOST. Here's what's going on inside IOST.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're going to try and make more of an effort to get people who are new to crypto, get them started, because everybody knows Bitcoin, but alt's always kind of become that ground where you can get wrecked, as people like to say, and you don't know what's what. And it's interesting, the question you said your friend asked when you were signing up. What did he ask you?
Yeah, so I was talking with a friend, and he wants to put some money into it, and he emailed me. And he said, is there a penalty for exiting this investment? And I thought that's kind of an interesting question to ask. And I don't know what prompted
like it's
that,
an IRA or something?
Yeah, like, is there a penalty for exiting this? Because people, a lot of people don't know anything about cryptocurrency, right? So if they put some money in, who's the custodian and how do you get the money out? I mean, there's a lot of parallels to traditional investing, but there's also some new things to understand too. So I think we need a place where people can go if they're just starting from scratch to get into IOST.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and that's going to be our initiative moving forward as we expand not only the insiders getting their inside information, but newcomers, and we're going to talk a little bit later about trying to bridge some of those gaps between East and West we're working on. So I do want to move on to what I think a lot of our viewers are wondering right now, which is where are the Biss rewards. What is going on with Biss?
I'm wondering that.
Everybody's wondering that. And
I heard rumors that certain Biss employees are not permitted to leave the building until the rewards are issued.
I like that rumor.
I don't quite remember where I heard it from.
I think I can put a screenshot of it up on the screen for us. It's actually from Chris, our friend Chris, who's the admin in the main international channel there. He said their admin said the tech guys are not allowed to leave the building until rewards are paid. Let's hope for the best.
Are they allowed to eat before the rewards?
I don't know. If I was Biss at this point, if I was leading those guys, I wouldn't let them do anything other than get those rewards distributed, because we're through. I mean, the period ended March 1st, right? March 30th.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And the distribution was mid-April.
Right. And the way that IOST first talked about this, when they said that they're talking about these quarterly contribution rewards, they were like, "Oh, it's going to be very smooth. There'll be, some period of time where we're going to sit and talk about who's going to be ranked where, and then within 48 hours, everybody will have their rewards." And now we're all the way up to May 6th or whatever, and people still don't have their rewards from Biss. So a lot of unhappy campers out there who are camping their tokens on Biss.
Yeah, agreed. Let's hope we see those rewards soon.
So if you're out there, if you're an insider and you're wondering where those Biss rewards are, I know I've had a lot of people even DM me personally, like what's going on with this, and I've just said we got to hold off and be patient with them. It was a holiday in China, Chinese Labor Day.
Oh,
so that was part of the reason for their delay. If they haven't gotten back to you in the past week or something, that's probably why.
And I mean, distributing people's money is a big deal too. So we don't want them to rush and make a mistake, right? But at the same time, they got to get this done. It's super important.
Hopefully by the end of the week. If you're out there waiting, that's all we know. If we know anything more, trust me, the insiders will be the first to know on our Telegram and whatnot. So that's the latest. What's going on with Biss? Wanted to move forward. I know last week Peter wasn't here, but Josh, you and I talked about Neo World, and I was wondering. I know I asked the audience. I was like, I want to see when this comes out, when you can actually play it. Well, it turns out you actually can play it right now. And a guy in our Telegram group, big shout out to Michael, he actually sent us a link to sign up and play. Unfortunately, it's only for PC. Now, Pete, you have Parallels on your computer.
Yeah, I'll get it by next week.
So you're going to play. You're going to set up an account next week.
Yeah, as long as the graphic requirements aren't too bad, it looks pretty good.
Did I see some segues on that screenshot
it's
you
those
sent
hoverboards.
I was going to say Segway, but Pete called them hoverboards. I think he's more accurate there.
Okay.
I think I called them Segways earlier too. But yeah, they're on these hoverboards, and there's a guy on a motorcycle over in the screenshot. There's some kind of map in the top right. Or
I love the guy
puzzle.
in the suit on the motorcycle.
Yeah, right? We got some kind of epic temple monument or something in this square with dragons. But otherwise it's a city with company names and stuff. I wonder if you can go in the city. I wonder if you can have apartments. It looks like there's an airplane icon, and then on the right there's a legal gavel and news and money and stuff. I mean,
wow.
And then if you look at the bottom right, there's all kinds of building categories, chemistry, and maybe it's jobs. I don't know. It looks like an elaborate kind of, I don't know if it's Second Life or if it's
and even
SimCity or The Sims. I don't even know.
In the chat box on the bottom left, you see there's nearby, there's world, and there's continent. So there's even more.
It's a strange order.
Yeah, it is.
Is the continent larger than the world?
You would think that the continent would be smaller than the world, and you can change language there between English and Chinese, it looks like. So
also, this person uses Brave browser.
Well, good for you, Michael. Good for you.
Good job.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, so we'll definitely play that next week.
All right, yeah, we'll play that next week. We'll get one of these skyscrapers built. These buildings look pretty cool on there. We mentioned building a hot dog stand. I wanted to start small. Josh said, let's go for the gusto. Let's create
these buildings are built by players?
I think so.
Whoa.
We need an inside IOST office space.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually do.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll end up doing that next week. We can do that on the show. I don't know how long that would take. Maybe we'll do a video, standalone video for something like that. But Pete's going to play some Neo World for us. It's still on Ethereum right now, but we'll see more details that come out as it moves over to IOST. Yeah.
Oh, well, if it's on Ethereum, we definitely can't do it on the show.
Yeah.
Place brick. Confirming.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with Neo World. Also, from some more news going on around the ecosystem, and this kind of ties back into our calendar. Block Devs Asia put on a great event called Looking Beyond Ethereum. It was in Manila, and I was talking about sharing dApps that are on IOST, and it looks like they had a great turnout, actually. And I actually saw some people commenting being from the Philippines in the international channel, looking for more people from the Philippines and doing some follow-up from the event. So really cool. These are the kind of things that we want to have on our calendar, on our website. So don't think like because you're a node or you're competing with us that we wouldn't promote these kind of events or anything like that. We want to give everybody exposure, whether you're in Manila, whether you're in Hong Kong, whether you're in our backyard or you're in New York City or something. Any events that seem legit enough, we'll definitely put up some info for you and help you get some exposure.
Yeah, they can reach out to us through our Telegram channel or contact us through the webpage, too. We're happy to put that up on the calendar for them.
So moving along, I want to talk about IOSTABC. And IOSTABC just made some awesome updates. Hopefully, we're going to get someone from IOSTABC, not on the show here, but I've been doing all kinds of stuff trying to get in touch with people from Asia, so I'll hold off on that for now. I just want to talk about the website for now. And if you head over to IOSTABC, this is the Block Explorer. We mentioned it like in episode 2 or 3, how this was really the Block Explorer that we recommended for people to use. But they just made some updates, and one of the most interesting things that I thought personally was if you click on Producer Vote, there's now an annual yield column. So you've got all the block producers in order that you would see over on Biss, and their votes. They're ranked by the amount of votes, but you can actually sort now by annual yield. And this, if we can assume that it's accurate, these things are pretty hard to calculate. But they do have the formula written on there. And if you scroll down not very far, because we've got a high annual yield here at Inside IOST, and you click on us, we actually have a 36.22% annual yield. That's pretty good.
A big chunk of that has to be contribution rewards and then the size of the node too, right? So, for instance, I see BitBoy Crypto is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's the 6th one down, pretty high yield. Tier 1 contributor was a smaller node when they announced him as a Tier 1 contributor. So the people that have voted for him would have gotten a larger share. So I could see these rankings changing as people vote for more of the Tier 1 rewards. You could move up and down on this list in terms of that annual yield.
Yeah, and that's kind of the diamond in the rough that you want to be looking for if you're someone that's just in it for the returns on the quarterly or the contribution rewards.
Yeah, smaller node that's making a big contribution that could get that Tier 1 reward.
Exactly. And if you scroll over, once you're inside the screen here of a specific node, if you just hover your cursor over that annual yield, they actually show how they calculate that. So there's a way for you to kind of have some sense of how they actually come up with that figure. It's not just pulled out of thin air. So another really cool thing I want to mention before we move on, though, is once you are under an actual producer screen, you can go into the voting records, and from there you're actually able to see if people are voting from a mainnet account. A lot of people still using Biss, so it's a little bit hard to discern who's who there, but you can actually go in here and see who's voting for them or how much they're voting, when they're voting. There's timestamps on them, and then you can also see how many voters they have total. So right now we have 83 unique voters. That's not including Biss, so I'm sure there's probably more. I would be willing to bet we've got well over 100 unique voters, and that's a higher number amongst at least the U.S. nodes. And we're happy to see that. We're happy to see that we've got all kinds of different voters, people who maybe don't have a million IOST, but people who have a modest amount who look to us for the information and they vote for us. We appreciate all our voters, whether you're voting 5 IOST or you're voting 500,000.
Some of these top ones, these top nodes like SSS, Minex, 17 voters listed. IOST World, and not cracking on these people, but IOST World, 43 voters listed. So I think that's pretty good. Of course, maybe the communities of these nodes tend to stay on Biss more, and so there are more voters. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be where it's tough to tell the difference is when they're on Biss, because it just acts as one big clump of votes. When you go to people's voters, Biss IOST will almost always be the top one there, because that's where all the Biss voters come from.
So how many does the very top have?
What do you mean the very top?
Leobi, the number one producer.
I don't know. Let's see. So looking at Leobi pool, they are number 1. Their yield rank, they're number 67 with an annual yield of 8.29. And they have 125 unique voters. So we're not far off from them.
Well, yeah, but that's their whole exchange probably, right?
But again, you can't tell how many people are on Biss or not. But this is an awesome tool, IOSTABC. They're another one that I've been in touch with. So I might as well just talk about it now since I've mentioned it so many times already. But we're looking into basically getting in touch with a lot of these block producers, a lot of these dApp developers from Asia. I know, especially with things like EOS and Tron, that there's this disconnect between East and West, where you've got this large community over in the East. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They're hyping each other up, or they're voting for each other. They're kind of like locking in these block producers. And then in the West, you have the same thing. You got a great community in the West, especially with EOS. Like Pete and I have been to some of the hackathons with EOS, but there's this disconnect between both sides of the planet. And with Inside IOST, I think one thing we can do is kind of bridge the gap there between the East and West, and help not expose, but get them some exposure, some of these projects in the East. So I've been in touch with OnBlock, who is the first Oasis project. I'm really excited to hear back from them. IOSTABC is another one that we've been in touch with. SSS Minex is another one, and a couple others. So it probably won't be a part of this show specifically, but it will be kind of its own thing where we interview them on a video chat or whatever and just ask a few questions. It'll be brief, but just to kind of help bridge that gap, because there's that disconnect that happens in a lot of different communities in crypto, and I want to see that be kind of fixed with IOST. At least that's my goal for it.
Yeah, that's a important part of our mission, is to connect the East and the West, because there's so much innovation going on right now in the East. And I want to be able to introduce the West to a lot of these things, like, IOST, which you were talking about with the different node producers and the things that they're doing. Be great to get them on the show. And we're already featuring them on the website. I mean, the Get Started page that we created calls out to IOSTABC and their wallet creation, included the Token Pocket videos that we've created on there on our podcast. So yeah, we're already starting to do that, but looking forward to doing more of it.
All right, moving along to our last little bit of news for this week. There is a hackathon that has been announced. This is called this is by Dora Hacks. So this is in partnership, or this was created by this Blue Hill group. And Blue Hill, they actually announced themselves as partnering with IOST and being a part of the IOST ecosystem last June. So June 2018. They raised $50 million in funding, and they're basically looking for dApp developers, and I guess this is going to be part of kind of their efforts here. So talking specifically with this IOST Dora Hacks, the expansion into India with IOST, I feel like none other than Pete K, our own hacker on the team here, could talk about the hackathon.
I'm also the only one who's been to India. Is that true?
Yes. I've not been.
All right. Yeah. So in India, I know the crypto scene's a little uncertain right now, and you trade crypto for fiat and things like that legally. But the blockchain development scene, the crypto development scene, is exploding. Development teams in India looking to get into these dApp platforms. And so IOST is not very well known in India, and Dora Hacks and Blue Hill with this partnership are really looking to expand into India. We know there's a lot of development talent there, a lot of people eager to get into this wave and build great dApps. And so they're running a hackathon with rewards. There's actually a rewards pool they're dividing into 200 parts, and the 20 reviewers are going to have 10 parts each and divvy them out. And the focus is on dApp game development, which, of course, is often the first category we see at hackathons. And that's going on. I forget when it's going on here exactly. You guys know June 15th, from early May. That might be now.
Yeah.
To June 15th. And it's an online hackathon, so you don't have to buy your tickets to get to Delhi or Goa or wherever. It's an online hackathon, but focused on India. Can we participate?
I don't know.
Is it exclusively for Indian hackers?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something I was wondering about because, like, obviously we're not from India. We don't have Indian names. But if you're an Indian student or someone who's in the U.S., I don't see why you couldn't. But I don't know. It's interesting to look into. Do you find any more info about it?
I haven't. I'm just learning more that the Blue Hill has partners around the world: China, South Korea, Singapore, and 50 team members. So it's a pretty sizable company. And Dora Hacks, I know, is a lot bigger than I thought as well, with their main office being in Beijing. So, and this is great that they're looking to move into India. India is a rising economy, large number of people, and very talented people. So very excited to see what comes out of that. Maybe the next big game we'll show will be something out of this hackathon.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to keep everyone updated on what comes out of that hackathon. I think it'll be cool to see, especially with this Blue Hill being part of it and providing some of their resources. And Pete, you and I, we both work with an Indian dev team on some other.
I'm sorry.
We both work with some people, some developers out of India for another venture that we have that's not inside IOST, but could be. We could mesh things together soon. And they're a great team. The one guy that he was a hackathon mentor before anyone knew what the heck they were doing. Yeah, he was a mentor before there was even one piece of documentation on EOS. So it would be good to see some of these people move into the IOST ecosystem as well. And if we have nothing else to say...
No, but before the next episode, I will have a course out on how to use the owner and active permission system to make your wallet basically immune to hacking, to serious hacking. This is something that's known on EOS, and IOST has it, but I've never seen it really talked about. You can actually set a private key that is kind of in charge of your other private key. And so if your main private key used for games and things, your active key it's called, is hacked, your owner key can step in and save your account. So there's this really cool permissions defense system that Ethereum doesn't have, a lot of platforms don't have, and we're going to be doing a video on it.
IOST has it?
Yeah.
Does the owner key stay with you, or do you give that to somebody else as like a backup?
Well, I mean, I guess you could give it to someone as a backup if you want.
But then they'd have access.
Then they could not just have access, they could lock you out completely. The owner key has the authority to change the active key. So if you can set an owner key and you can set it cold, let's say you just have it on paper somewhere in a safe or whatever, then you don't have to feel like when you enter your active key into iWallet or Token Pocket, you don't have to feel like you're putting your life and your funds in the hands of Token Pocket or iWallet, because if they tried to unstake your voting IOST and steal it all, you could then change your active key and they can't send it anywhere. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to include this whole
So
part.
it's interesting. So
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Pete will come out with a video that's going to dive into that a little bit more. That should come out pretty soon. We've got all kinds of stuff. The new website's up. We are now inside IOST. One little detail on the Block Explorer, our account name is still going to be Leobi. That can't be changed.
The wallet name will stay Leobi, and our voters don't need to do anything. They don't need to re-vote or anything like that. They can just keep the votes where they are. So the wallet name will stay the same, but the node name that's displayed on the Biss voting website and moving forward on IOSTABC and Token Pocket and whatever other voting apps will be inside IOST. And all of our channels will be updated inside IOST. We'll be directing people to our website, insideiost.com.
Many thanks to the voters who provided feedback and really spurred this change.
Yeah,
we heard you loud and clear.
Yeah, great communication in our Telegram channel that helped us as we were making this decision.
Yeah, we make all kinds of changes for the insiders. I don't know if you've noticed, but the last 2 episodes we cleaned up the set a little bit. There's not wires everywhere. I shaved my beard. I'm just trying to look more clean cut.
They told you to shave your beard?
I do believe Chris was making fun of us. He said even 1 out of the 3 shaves. So now we got 2 out of the 3.
That guy has lower facial anxiety. Have you seen his profile pic? Like the ocean is hiding his lower face. I mean,
maybe he's just mad because he can't grow a beard.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
That might be why. So
He's got to go for the seaweed.
all right, before we make fun of too many of our insiders on this week's episode, we appreciate everybody for watching. For Peter K. and for Josh Bryant, I am Evan Schindler. This is Inside IOST, and we will see you next week.